Well, it may have been a record holiday shopping season for Amazon, but my next guest says a new report could have parents returning their children's favorite holiday toys. Joining us for more on this, clinical associate professor at NYU School of Medicine, Dr. Devi. Good morning, Dr. Devi. So what does this report say about kids and toys?
Well, this is ironic. It's about sound-producing toys. So the toys that, like baby cell phones, things that let you sing along. You know, people get this for their kids, right? Because they think it'll enhance language, that the child will learn to speak faster. But in fact, it actually inhibits language, so it delays speech. The idea is that when these toys are making noise, the kid doesn't make noise, right? The kid is sort of entranced and just watches it. And so they actually get delayed in terms of producing speech. And then the other thing in the study that was kind of interesting is that parents also don't talk as much if the toy is making noise. So what really causes language to develop is if the child and the parent are interacting, or babysitter or somebody else, but basically if they're communicating with each other. So if you don't have that happening, you actually can slow things down.
You're a parent.
The question, I have a 20-month-old at home, so how do you feel about these videos that parents are playing on the iPads and their iPhones while the kid's eating or things like that? You worried about that too?
Yeah, so there are studies that actually show that any kind of screen time can also affect language. I mean, now you have to have a balance, right? Because you want kids to be able to go out to certain places like restaurants or maybe on the plane. You might need some toys to distract them at that time. But you really want to limit it as much as possible, because what will happen is that they get so absorbed in what they're watching that they actually try less to interact socially or in terms of their language.
But I think this makes a lot of sense as a society. Right? We're so used to being online on our phones, on the internet. I mean, if you go into any restaurant, you see people just like this on their phones instead of interacting with each other. So it's not surprising to me that this wouldn't be good for children, because it's not good for adults either.
There's one other story I want to get your take on before we let you go. That's Chipotle. Basically, J.P. Morgan says there's going to be a big sales decline for the next 5 quarters because of E. coli, norovirus, everything else. What do you say about Chipotle, and do we need to be really worried about eating at those restaurants now?
Well, I don't want people to worry too much, but the problem is that we don't know what the cause of the infection is, or the spread of the infection. So the thing that you worry about is that it might be in the soil where the food is produced, like the ingredients. So, for example, tomatoes, if you think about that, let's say it's grown in soil where infected cattle or other infected animals are grazing. Well, once the E. coli and other agents get into the soil, then it can also get through the water and into the tomatoes. So as soon as those tomatoes are harvested and sent to all these different Chipotles, then you could potentially, get exposed to that infection.
Is this a frozen versus fresh issue? Because a lot of these fast food companies are not having this issue, have never had this issue. Is that because this stuff is being delivered fresh to Chipotle?
Well, when you have fresh tomatoes or anything fresh, you are more at risk for mold and for certain things, but not necessarily bacteria. And freezing doesn't kill the bacteria, but boiling will, or cooking meat thoroughly will also kill the bacteria. So it's not necessarily that, but it might be that they're not testing aggressively to see if there's
and maybe not have sick workers working at Chipotle, which is what happened in Boston. Devi, thank you so much.
Dr.
Devi, appreciate it.